Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the sequel to the original 60s family film, Mary Poppins Returns. Oh, it took you long enough.
A few, decades after her original visit, Mary Poppins, the magical nanny, returns to help the Banks siblings and Michael's children through a difficult time in their lives. Oh, that sounds so bland.
Wow. But before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and more Paws videos.
Definitely. Now, in this version, we have to mention that Emily Blunt, of course, takes the lead role because this was done decades after the original.
Right. We were kind of surprised they even made this, period, because of how long it had been since the first film.
Absolutely.
Now, for the other people in here, we had Lin-Manuel Miranda as Jack.
And he also did the music.
You have Colin Firth in here. You have appearances by we have Meryl Streep.
And we also had Dick Van Dyke and Angela Lansbury actually appearing here. They were in the original Mary Poppins movie. And Dick Van Dyke's role was fantastic.
Right.
And so was Angela Lansbury. It was great to see them. They didn't reprise the roles that they had, but they had cameo appearances that were wonderful. It was fantastic to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So what was different about this, or what made this a continuation? As we mentioned, she came to help the son with his family. And he was living with his sister and his children.
Right. And it seemed like there was almost a similar thing to what Nanny McPhee was. Ironically, since Nanny McPhee was the parody of Mary Poppins. They seemed to have the theme of helping him once again, because it seemed like he had lost the imagination and joy that he had from the time that Mary Poppins helped his family.
Right.
When he was a child. Because now he's grown up, he has kids, he has a job, and he's at risk of losing the job and losing the family house and paying bills. So it seems like the harder parts of life have kind of messed with him, and now he sees no fun. He doesn't even believe now when the kids say Mary Poppins did all these fantastical things. He doesn't believe it anymore, which almost didn't make sense because he lived through it.
Oh, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
Like,
how would you not believe it and it happened to you?
It's not like, no, that never happened. It was my imagination. I'm like, no, it wasn't. You lived through it. So if their kids are saying the same thing you did, clearly it was all real.
You weren't on psychotropic drugs, so you did not imagine that. It really happened to you. So the thing here that stood out for us is Emily Blunt. She's a great actress, but I guess the way that either she chose to portray Mary Poppins or the way it was written for her, Mary Poppins was a little more stuffy and kind of arrogant than the Julie Andrews version.
Yes, I mean, you got that she was supposed to be professional, and you got that she didn't take anything from the children, no back talk, anything. She did her job, but she had fun with it. She did the same thing here on taking on these fantastical things, but she was more strict.
Yes.
It seemed like she was more strict, and she was a little more to herself with her looks and things, like lots more praise. And it was a little off-putting because the thing about Mary Poppins was that, you know, she was a mysterious character, but you still loved her anyway. And it seemed like she was very selfless. And here she kind of is, but we weren't sure why there was suddenly the more vanity part of her was showing her. Maybe because it had been a while, because she doesn't age, clearly. She doesn't ever age, so maybe she was taken with her looks, and maybe that was kind of a joke all this time later, and she's no different. Because they didn't say, you don't look a day different from the time you left.
Yeah. And Lin-Manuel Miranda took up the role of Jack that was played by Dick Van Dyke originally, the chimney sweep. And you could tell that his hand was on the music numbers that were in it.
Yes.
And there were more music numbers than we expected in this one. And they also had an homage to the chimney sweep song that Dick Van Dyke originally did. And for me, it went on a little too long. It was fine until it got a little longer, and you thought it was going to be over, and it kept going.
That's what I kept thinking too.
And it was like, you should have ended that like 4 minutes ago.
Right.
And if you had done that, it would have been perfect. It's just some of the numbers either A, were a little too long, or B, just were in the wrong place.
Right,
in the movie.
because they started piling up the songs towards the end.
Right.
They started off being every now and then when you got to see what happened with the story. Then Mary Poppins song, then a story, then a song. But then almost every 5 minutes there was a musical number, so it started piling up. Second thing was that they had the rendition of the anime sequences, and I love that they kept it as the 2D hand-drawn style when they go into this land. However, one issue is that they started putting in more of the sadder parts of the reality-based things,
Right.
because towards the end of the fun animated number, they have the wolf, of course, because he's a wolf, he's taking their stuff, and he's a thief, and he's a criminal taking their stuff and putting them in danger. It's like, why did you do that? You didn't need that. And they started to put in more of the sadder moments, like the more like the harsh things, harsh reality
Right.
or something. It was like, but the whole point of Mary Poppins film was
being
magical.
fantastical and supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Right.
It was lost here.
Right. It was more intense. It was more grounded.
And they didn't sing it.
No, they said the word.
How did you not sing this song? We were expecting it. We're like, okay, we know that they may not have the other musical numbers, but dang it, they're gonna have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. They didn't.
Nope.
It was so disappointing
It was
that
weird.
they didn't have that song in there. It was like, why would you do that? That's what this movie is. That's the most famous number of the movie. Why would you not have another rendition and let Lin-Manuel Miranda sing it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they didn't want it. Well, they owned it. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe they didn't want to pay for the rights, but they own it.
Right.
So why would you not do it?
Maybe they just didn't want you to think of that first movie. Just she returns,
Well,
but
guess
it's not
what?
the difference.
All I thought of was the first movie watching this, because there was, as you said, the happiness and the joy missing, and the overabundance of musical numbers, and the blatant absence of Julie Andrews.
Right. We thought she'd at least make an appearance, like maybe she played one of the maids or a grandmother or a neighbor or something.
Anything.
Because they did it at the end of the movie with 2 other people.
Dick Van Dyke and Angela Lansbury.
Right.
Well,
and
toward the end, right?
Yeah. And then the third thing that was really off with the...
Go back to Julie Andrews. Was there something that medically prevented her from doing it?
Maybe, or she
because
just...
if not, then there's no excuse for not having her make a guest appearance, because we really were expecting it. All through the movie, we kept waiting and waiting and waiting. She's going to pop up. She's going to pop up. What they did have was an odd Meryl Streep character.
Yes.
That was supposed to be her sister.
No, actually, it's even more confusing than that. You didn't know where Mary Poppins came from. So there was a point when they wanted to save the house. They said, oh, we'll sell this vase and it'll be enough money. It's priceless. We'll sell it and it'll save the house.
And
so
it
she
was
takes,
a useless scene. I'm sorry.
Right. It was pointless in the end because she took them to see her cousin Topsy.
Cousin, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, what? And they even said, when did you have a cousin? It's just suddenly she has this family member. You didn't think she had any family, but suddenly they mentioned that she has this whole family that you just never see, and she's just on her own.
And of course the cousin had to do a musical number.
Right. And the thing, she did everything backwards and upside down, and her whole character, she was kooky and goofy, and she did everything in reverse. And then at the end of the song, it's like, oh, this place isn't worth anything.
But the problem was, it wasn't kooky and it wasn't goofy. That was the problem. You would have welcomed that because that's what we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But the scene, the character, and the number just didn't work. No fault of Meryl Streep, because Meryl Streep is perfection in acting. I mean, she does no wrong. What they wrote for her, how they wrote the character, how they wrote the scene, and the musical number just didn't work.
Right.
It didn't have that fun factor, that fantastical fun factor that you were wanting.
Right. It seems they just add an extra character to pad out the runtime, because the scene could have been taken out of the movie. All you had to do was say, I'm sorry, this vase isn't valuable, and then that was it. They didn't need, there was like almost 20 minutes of the film that was just filler.
But we did get to see the kids smile because they liked her. That was the best part.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And there are some fun parts of the movie. There are some great jokes. The visuals are fantastic.
Absolutely.
They even go further with being in this magical world. Like I said, they kept the hand-drawn animation when they had the animals and the carnival. A lot of the songs are very, very catchy when they were supposed to be.
And I do have to say there was a nice chemistry between Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes.
It worked great. And the kids were fantastic actors. And the two that played the brother and sister, is it Ben Ben Winshaw and
Emily
Mortimer.
Yeah.
They had a great chemistry. So the chemistry between those two MCs and those two MCs worked.
Right.
All of it worked. It's just those were elements that were missing from the movie. The fantasticalness of it, the fun, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious number. Some of the numbers went on, musical numbers went on too long, and a 20-minute scene that didn't need to be in the movie. They could have put Meryl Streep in it, given her another role, but not this one.
Right.
But if you have seen Mary Poppins Returns, Bennett Dudley, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it was a noteworthy sequel? Do you think it could have been better? Do you think that we just could have done without it and maybe a re-release of the original Mary Poppins?
Right.
Let us know what you think.
And be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and Roll Pause videos.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on.